Feel trapped my marriage, 49M. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Sorry, this is going to be a bit of a rant, but I need to get it off my chest. From the outside everything looks good. We, me 49M, wife 49F, have been married now 24 years, together for 29. Stable job, nice house? We have 4 wonderful kids, November 13, 16, 19. No infidelity. Yet it feels like my wife is constantly negative towards me. Nothing I ever do is good enough. If I cook dinner she will complain there is not enough salt, or too much. When we are driving she keeps giving comments, you should have changed lanes earlier, or, watch you speed, you are doing 32 in a 30 inches. It just feels like I'm being ground away bit by bit. I can't remember the last time she complimented me on anything. Whenever anything goes wrong it always seems like the default is to blame me. Where are my keys? I left them on the table and they are not there now. You must have moved them. I hunt around and find them in her coat pocket. The other day when driving somewhere we got stuck in traffic. Apparently that was my fault for not praying before we set off. Our sex life almost completely dried up after our youngest son was born. Nowadays we don't even hold hands anymore. I find myself staying at work longer. I just don't want to face the negativity I will get when I get home. A lot of the time she is moaning at me now. I just switch off and hardly even hear what she is saying. I feel hollow inside. We hardly ever argue or fight. I just don't have the energy for it. Just do what she says, then I just go along with it. We have some friends whose 22-year-old son has a drugs problem. His parents had been forced to throw him out of their home after he repeatedly stole from them, and he was now homeless. My wife wanted to take him in, as she said living in a good Christian home would help him reform. I said I thought that was a very bad idea. She told me that because I was too self-centered and didn't have faith. So we ended up setting up a bed for him in the living room. He stayed with us for a few days, then one day he asked if he could make a coffee, and after making it said he was just going out for a cigarette and never came back. My kids had been saving up to buy a guitar. There was a pot with money they had earned from chores in the kitchen. We found it had disappeared. My wife went ballistic at me. Apparently when he had asked for a coffee I had gone to make one for him, then he would never have gone into the kitchen, found the money and been tempted. It's not each incident itself that hurts so much, just the constant drip of anger and resentment she has for me. I just can't cope with seeing her angry and upset all the time, and blaming me for everything. It feels like I'm just not the right person for her. She frequently moans about how I failed to give spiritual leadership in our family, but I am not going to pretend to be something that I simply am not. I am not proclaiming how the Bible is the inerrant word of God, when I feel like any faith I ever had has been ground out of me by life. I'm agnostic, verging on atheist these days. I just don't know how much longer I can go on like this. I have dreams about just packing my bags and leaving, but each time I then think of what would that do to my kids, and I can't. I just feel trapped. Next year will be our 25th wedding anniversary. I can't bear the thought of having a celebration with everyone congratulating us and saying what a happy couple we seem. I can't imagine living like that. I'm so sorry. Well, you could continue to withdraw. Or you could call her out each and every time she offends. Don't be a backseat driver, please. It's distracting and makes me less safe on the road. It wasn't my fault that kid stole money. I didn't want to invite him in the first place. Please stop criticizing me. She may not even be aware how often she's doing this stuff, and she certainly isn't getting in the moment feedback about how it affects you. That's on her, but it's on you, too. You should start standing up to her. She's walking all over you. Next time she wants to take in a criminal, put your foot down and tell her no. When she complains about your driving, tell her, do not speak to me like that, and if she continues, turn the car around and drive home. Tell her to drive next time if she doesn't like how you drive. Also, if you're struggling for money at all, if she doesn't already have one, tell her to get a job and contribute to the expenses. The 40-something decade is when a lot of divorces happen. It's only going to increase as the millennials get deeper into their 40s. Your situation isn't unusual at all. I have 3 40-something female friends going through divorces. Their husbands are all leaving them for younger women. The fact is, the person you married at 25 is not the same person. Neither are you. Resentment has had a long time to build for both of you. You resent her as much as she resents you. Unless you are both willing to work on it, together, this is over. Fix it or leave. If it can't be fixed, the kids will be fine. Take it from someone who waited 27 years. I should have done it years earlier. Happiest I've been in years. Why aren't you standing up for yourself? Wife, found out that my best friend has feelings for me. So for context, me, 38 male, my wife, 40 female, and my best friend, 35 female, were at a birthday party and my wife came recently to me and told me that my best friend confessed to her that she has feelings for me at that party. She also apparently said that she wished that she had my children. Me and my best friend know each other since childhood and she never had feelings for me, but just to make sure I asked her if it was true what my wife said and she denied it. My wife and my best friend had a fight because one of them is lying. I don't know if I should believe my wife or my best friend. They are both important to me, but it's getting worse and worse. Any advice for my situation? TBH, she's going to leave you before you make a decision. If you don't believe your wife straight away and get rid of the friend, your marriage will be over. You saying in other comments that she's always been a jealous person over other women. Have you bothered to talk to her about that? Ask what her issue is. Therapy? Sounds like you've ignored it, and are using her as the jealous wife in this situation too. Red flags are flying. You don't believe your wife? Then she shouldn't be your wife. The two of you are married, with kids by the sound of it. I don't see why your wife would bring this up now unless it was the truth. It's not as if the relationship is new and she wants to undermine her competition. Unless something has changed recently and your relationship is already on the rocks, I would believe your wife. Unless your wife has a history of lying and being manipulative, abusive, etc. I don't understand why you wouldn't believe your wife. Are you actually considering breaking up your family over this? What about your kids? Do you think your wife is so dishonest she would lie to you? Or have you just always wanted to be with your friend too? I can't think of any other reason you wouldn't believe your wife. And I don't see how she could ever trust you again if she's telling the truth and you didn't believe her. Are you serious? You can't choose between your wife and your friend? That's ridiculous. How to politely tell an acquaintance, coworker you don't want to hang out with them. I have a coworker. He's male, I'm female of the same age by the way to paint a picture, who constantly asks me to hang out. We hung out after work once. Since then, he's contacted me many weekends asking to hang out. I mean, he's friendly and I don't think has a romantic interest in me. I also let him know I have a BF. But the incessant requests to hang out started to feel clingy, creepy. He says we should take road trips. I work remote now and live more than an hour away from work, and he says things like he'll drive to me to pick me up. I have excuses every time, usually involving events with family, my boyfriend, or just being too tired to hang out. I ignored messages on text and he started reaching out over our work messaging system. He once called me asking a work question and it transitioned into him asking to hang out. As creepy as it sounds, I do believe his intentions are innocent. He seems to be on the spectrum as well and doesn't understand social cues. I think he's just very lonely. And I feel bad but don't have the desire to hang out. Sorry, but I don't mix work with my social life. Thanks for asking, but that's the way it is. Just tell him. Say, hi, coworker, I appreciate the offer but I don't have a desire to hang out outside of work with you. Be blunt. You're not going to be able to avoid hurting his feelings with this, so just be polite but firm. Better a clear message than mixed signals and confusing him. Set a firm boundary. Be kind and firm. I really appreciate you coming up with all of these fun things for us together, but I'm really just not interested in pursuing a friendship with you. Will it suck and be awkward and maybe painful? Probably. Does he deserve to know this so he doesn't think you actually want to hang out but you are just always busy? Absolutely. Don't lead him on or blow him off. Being kind and honest is the best way to go in my opinion. There is no escaping telling him politely but firmly that you don't want to hang out outside of work. Hey, I don't want this to be awkward as we're work colleagues, but I don't feel I'll want to hang out with work colleagues outside of work. Thank you for the kind offer. This only works if this is actually a rule for you. If you do hang out with other work colleagues, you'll have to insert a reason. I don't feel comfortable. I appreciate the offer but I would like to keep our relationship professional, etc. There's no reason to be mean or specific that shames the person. Don't invite or answer questions if they ask you to elaborate. I would stop making one-off excuses and just tell him you like to keep your work life and personal life separate. My 21 male partner, 19 female, really wants to have an open relationship, but I don't. So my partner wants to have an open relationship, and has said that the reason she wants it is so we can both learn to please each other better. However, I just don't feel comfortable at all with the situation. I've begrudgingly agreed to a 3-month period, but I'm worried that since she is a female and gets a lot more attention, that this whole situation could ruin my view of her and in turn, the relationship. What do I do? Tell her it's off. Also, that sounds like such a shit reason to be honest. People in relationships generally explore each other together, unless they're both poly, both into open relationships etc. Talk to her immediately, dude. You should never agree to something you don't actually want to agree with. It's over. That's as fundamental an incompatibility as you can get. Don't begrudgingly agree to it. Just end it. To be blunt, relationships over 100%. To please each other better. BS. Best way to please your partner is to listen to what they like, not other people. She's just trying to convince you, and honestly I'd ghost her if possible. The relationship is essentially over. Coercion isn't agreement. You are not okay with it, they should know and see that. Most of the time the partner that wants an open relationship already has someone in mind. She just doesn't want to cheat and keep you around as a safety net. Put her to the curb and find someone that shares your morals.